Is There More is the podcast where creators share how their darkest moments became the breakthroughs that changed everything. We're building a space for raw stories, deep connection, and real hope for everyone who's still writing their story. Brought to you by Dialog Life Skills, the world's scalable solution to the teen and young adult mental health crisis. I'm your host, Megan A. Tully, and I'm listening.
Today's episode is basically a masterclass in turning your pain into power without lying to yourself about it. Our guest is Pearl Botts, and the way she explains her name will stop you in your tracks. Pearl talks about content creation as a spiritual discipline that will expose every insecurity you have, why you're allowed to be obsessed with the dream, but not obsessed with the timeline, how heartbreak can be a catalyst and not a collapse, and why zooming out into faith is both a medicine and a way to bypass reality. We also get into family dynamics, being a cycle breaker, and what happens when you keep choosing people who really care about you but don't have the capacity to show up. So if you're in a season where you're trying to alchemize something messy into something meaningful, yeah, this one's for you.
Yes.
Okay, so good to see you. Nice to
You
meet
too.
you, Pearl.
You as well.
Tell me about your name.
Ooh, okay, wait. I love this question because I'm really connected to my name. So my mom's name is Jewel, and then I'm Pearl, and then I have a sister, and her name is Amber. So we're kind of like little gemstones. But my mom named me Pearl because of the way in which a pearl is formed. So, like an irritant gets into the clam, and then the clam is like, oh, this like uncomfortable thing that is not supposed to be here is here. And then it like cries and secretes mucus, and it like forms this thing of beauty around this thing that wasn't supposed to be there. And I just feel like that's all I think about in life, like just how you can transform these things that aren't supposed to be in your life into these things of beauty, and how without that irritant, it wouldn't have happened. So I'm super connected to my name in that way, and I'm like grateful for it. And no one has it. No one has the name Pearl Botts, so.
Not at all. That's why I was like, I was actually like gonna say, is that your real name? Like Pearl
Yeah.
Botts? It's such a cool name, but it
Thank
also,
you.
you just reminded me my name Megan in Irish, because I'm half Irish. It means pearl.
I forgot about that. Yes, it does.
I just
That's
remember
crazy.
that. That's kind of like a testimony like to your whole life. You're a spiritual guide and a life coach. And so I feel like you have a very deep, story, and probably many pains you've turned into purpose. So do you want to tell me like a little bit, what is kind of like your origin story?
I feel like, you know how people say that animals choose them, like, oh, like I went to this dog shelter and then like it chose me, like they didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
I feel like more and more I just don't really have much of a choice in life. Like it really is that duality of like, I have so much agency, like I have much more, I have a lot of abilities to control the things that I can't control, and at the same time I have like literally no control. Like I'm more convinced that destiny is real, just because of how I feel guided in life. But I think with coaching, like many coaches, you find yourself in situations where you want support and you don't have it in the way in which you need it, and then you just figure out how to coach yourself through difficult things, and you find different techniques, and then you share those techniques, and those techniques help other people. And yeah, I just feel like I kind of just stumbled upon it. I'm like, oh, like this is what I love doing for myself and what I love doing for other people. Oh, it's also like a career that you can do,
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of just happened upon me, honestly.
That's very cool. I have a kind of a similar thing where you talked about like you didn't have support growing up for what you wanted to do. My parents were, not supportive of me wanting to be like any kind of creative person. So I, like you, found a way to do it anyway. And through being in Hollywood and being in the industry as like a filmmaker and an actor, and kind of even having so much difficulty in that, like with my mental health specifically, that's where I kind of found a deeper meaning of what I wanna do in entertainment. So now one of
Yeah.
the things I do is, teach, like, younger people how to dialogue, and that's very much impacted my mental health. So
Yeah.
I've looked into you, I follow you on Instagram, and I've looked into, like, you're also a singer, right? Or
Yes.
singer-songwriter?
Yes, singer-songwriter, yeah.
And, one of the videos I first saw of you, it was, like, way back, was you were singing, like, with a deadpan face, and it was so
Bro.
funny. Can you do that? Would you mind?
Like, right now?
Yes, like, it's so good, it's so good.
Um, I haven't done it, and so I mean, I don't really normally do it. Okay, I don't know.
Hey. It's so good. So
I
you're
saw
also
them.
a singer?
Yes. Yeah, I originally moved to Los Angeles for music. And I yeah, I've had a really complex relationship, I think, with music and creativity, and it's definitely been, I feel like, a spiritual technology. I feel like
Mm,
almost anything can be a spiritual technology in the sense that it can be used to form you in some way and help you see yourself in a different way. With singing, it's one of those things also that I started when I was, like, in 8th grade, and I
mm.
joined a choir because I didn't wanna do Spanish, and I didn't wanna do, what was the other thing? It was, like, Spanish or drama, and I was super shy and introverted. So I
Okay.
started singing in choir in 8th grade, and then my choir teacher was like, "Wow, you have a beautiful voice," and started giving me all these solos, and yeah, it kind of, again, like, found me. Um, but yeah, kind of understanding what it looks like to create a career around it and, like, the pressure that it takes and kind of the places that you have to be. I feel like there's some of it that fits me and then some of it that doesn't, but I think singing will always be something that I don't know. There's a quote by Augustine, I think it's by Augustine, but he says singing is like praying twice, and I know that singing, it can be really regulating for me. Like, I be singing all the time. Like, I'm singing all day long, and I think it's because it regulates me. It calms me down. So, yeah, I'm trying to see it in a different way. I've kind of taken a step back this past year and focused more on coaching. But I'm curious to see how it comes back into my life maybe next year. So, we'll see. I don't
Oh my
know.
god. Do you tend to coach, like, do you focus on music industry people with your coaching or not at all?
I don't try to, but I do tend to, I think, we attract people who are like us. So, like, creatives in some way,
Mm.
like, yeah, people in the music industry, artists, dancers, things like that. Because I think you just think differently, like a lot of like STEM people, I feel like aren't necessarily, not that they're not attracted to me, but I feel like that creative mindset, I feel like, is more
Yeah, yeah.
who comes into my world.
Fear, yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
Well, I wanna just take a moment to congratulate you because I know that you just reached your first $100 as a YouTube
Ah!
partner, so
Oh my God,
congratulations.
how cute. Thank you. Thanks.
I'm so happy for you. I can't even imagine, like, how difficult that was. Do you wanna kinda walk us through, like, that process of starting, like, your decision to start? And then I know it's difficult, to start making money on YouTube. So just, like, advice or, like, how did you get to this point?
Oh my gosh. Again, I feel like content creation has been uh, a spiritual technology for me in the sense that required me to face all of my weaknesses. It demands like discipline, consistency, but also flow and devotion and self-worth and the ability to like believe in yourself even when you have no evidence of anything, and just like you really have to be a person of faith in the sense that you have to believe things that aren't there.
Yeah.
and continue to do the work without any results. So I started my first YouTube channel in like 2019. I had two different ones. I had a health coaching one, and then I had a music channel. And I was like, I was making 2 videos a week for like a year, and pretty much I had zero growth, like zero growth. It was like, yeah, it was really, really hard. Like I've wept so many tears around it, and like, yeah, it was really honestly a painful experience to go through that and to want something to work out so badly and then it just doesn't. Um but then I restarted my YouTube channel after I had kind of like learned more about, I guess, mindsets around content creation and like growing my Instagram and that doing better. And then yeah, I
Mm,
restarted it. Just I was like, I just want to like do more long form in general because I think it's just it requires different things of you, helps you become in a different
mhm.
way. And yeah, like the second video that I did, um, like blew up. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it got monetized from that video. And then, yeah, I just kind of kept posting and then it happened from there. So it is kind of like a never, 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 never all at once kind of situation.
Got you. Okay. So you see content creation as like a spiritual practice and a spiritual discipline, and you
Yes.
actually enjoy almost like the pain that it brings you because you know you need to go through another breakthrough to get to maybe like the next version of you. Did I get that?
Yeah. No,
Is
100%.
is there more to that?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, enjoy. I don't know about enjoy. There are moments of it that are enjoyable, but I would say it's almost like I experienced the full spectrum of human emotion,
Mm,
and it makes me feel alive. Like I feel grief when it comes to content creation. I feel rejection and satisfaction and determination and happiness and joy and suffering. Like I feel it all, but yes, it is kind of reminiscent of the pearl. Now I'm grateful just to have the foresight of like, no matter how painful this moment may be, I know that I can turn this into something
yeah.
that's beautiful with the help of the creator.
Yeah.
um, I need, it's definitely not by will alone. There's will involved, but it's a lot of balancing like, yeah, I feel like it's the balance of surrender and will and learning how to like flow through that. But I'm so grateful for it because I feel like it's prepared me for, other things like relationships falling apart. Like content creation has prepared me for like breakups in a way.
Okay. Tell me more about that. That's fascinating.
My last heartbreak that I went through, oh my God. I don't think I ever really experienced true heartbreak on that level until last year. And even in that moment, I was like, I know that this grief is also preparing me for like future grief as well. In the same way that like the grief of like a specific outcome not working out, like career or growing my following in a certain timeline, didn't work out in the way in which I wanted it, has
Yeah.
prepared me for this. So I think it's just like having correct expectations for how things should happen, you know?
Mm,
And like I've one thing that I've been thinking about recently is like have really big goals and dreams and like be really really fixated and obsessed about it actually. But I can't be obsessed at all about the timeline. That's
mhm.
the duality. I'm like, I'm allowed to be obsessed about it, but I'm not allowed to be obsessed about when. That's the only way I'll get through anything. And the same thing I think goes with romantic relationships. Like I'm allowed to yearn deeply for like a certain kind of connection, but not I can't be tied to who or like when specifically or that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's why they say God's timing, I guess. But
100%, yeah.
that's so cool that you see, like, every grief as, like you see, like, it forward and backward. You're like, "Yes, this is informing, the now and my past, but it's also gonna
it's also preparing me for a future grief that's gonna be even bigger than this.
Mhm.
So if I get through this one, I'll have the courage or the skill set to get through the next one. So it's such like a broad way to view life.
Yeah. I feel like one of my trauma responses, which I don't necessarily think that all trauma responses are negative. Like I don't think just because something is in response to a trauma means that it isn't useful or helpful. Certain things are, but I think like my drive, my ambition is in response to trauma. I think the way in which I want to support others is in response to trauma.
Yes.
Um, I think that trauma responses can be like generative or they can be like, unhelpful. I think one of my trauma responses is like when anything happens, I like pop up to this like aerial view of like it's all going to work out in God's timing, which I think is, helpful and good. But I feel like after I do this, after I'm like, "Oh, something painful has happened. It's all gonna work out." I actually need to come, like, back into reality and be
Yeah.
like, "Wait, this is actually extremely painful, and I was wronged in this way." And, like, just giving myself the space to be in reality and feel all of those, painful emotions. Like, this is sometimes it can be escapism, from actually being in life, and that's one thing that I've realized. I'm like, "Oh, this, like, popping up sometimes doesn't serve me." Or it's only half the picture, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great insight, like, about yourself and just about people in general is, like, we do tend to escape or, I don't know if everybody does that, like, a lot of people sit in this shit, they're like,
Yeah.
"Sucks," and then they get stuck. But people, I think, who move forward sometimes kind of bypass like, the pain altogether, and then it kinda catches up with you, I think, later, and you still have to work through and figure out, "Okay, wait, whoa, whoa," and you start
Mhm.
behaving. I mean, at least from my experience, I started behaving in, like, crazy ways, and I was like, "What?" And then I had to figure, "Oh, okay, this is a trigger." I think that awareness, though, is very, it's good that you have it? It's like it's half the they say, like, awareness is, like, half the battle for anything,
Mhm. Mhm.
but then it's like, okay, well, what is the practical way to come down? And, like, I guess I had to learn how to be safe in my relationships
Hmm.
was the thing I needed to learn.
Hmm.
When I
Mhm.
projected out to see, "Oh, this is gonna be great, blah, blah, blah," it was like I had this personal relationship with, like, creator, and it didn't involve people, right? It was just
Mhm.
me and in that communication with spirit, and so, I guess, like, then I realized I had to learn how to, like, be vulnerable with the people in my life in order to be in that reality, and tell them what was going on, but also do it in a constructive way.
Yeah.
And that's what I've really liked about this dialogue practice is, like, it helped me
Mhm.
to relate to people and still heal through it, not make it all trauma dumping or anything, but it's
Right.
like, just be seen and heard, essentially. Be seen and heard because that's all we wanna do as human beings is be witnessed in our emotions, and we feel better then. And
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, well, now we feel more connected. And when we feel more connected, now we feel more safe. And then we can be happy and joyful and create again instead of
Mhm.
disconnected, isolated, depressed, anxious, like all those things.
Yeah.
So I'd be curious to see what you think because you said you've been through so many years of DBT and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
I would love for you to, like, paint a picture because it seems like you've been through peaks and valleys, right? But
Girl.
was there, like, a
Yeah.
rock bottom for you? Was there something where you're like, "I don't know if I'm gonna this is the end," like, y paint a picture of that.
To be honest, I don't know if I've had a rock bottom that has been, like, harder and more difficult than the others. Um, or I could say that, or I could say, yes, like, recently, like, last year, I feel like, honestly, I went through a rock bottom.
Okay.
Definitely. But I almost feel like I've had I guess so far in my life, I've maybe had, like, 4, I would
Mhm.
say. Like I've had like 4 major transformations, and I feel like it just like it really does go like this. But
So you
um
had like 4 different rock bottoms,
yeah.
but you also feel like you went through one last year, if
Yes.
you're just saying it. Did I get that?
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
What was the rock bottom from a year ago?
So I think the catalyst for it was my a romantic relationship that I had. I was someone who grew up in like evangelical Christian culture, and like in general is like very just kind of a very non ambitious place, I guess. Like all the girls' wildest dreams were to like get married and to get married to a worship pastor, or like go to Bible college and get an MRS degree. Like that was kind of the vibe. And I was just like, that was never my vibe. I've never really centered romantic relationships. I've always feel like I've seen reality and be like, that looks like a really um intense process that I'm not trying to idolize. Of course, I've always wanted them, and I've had like boyfriends here and there, but this last one I think was one where I felt like I'm a Scorpio. So I'm very just like, you're the love of my life, or like I've never known you. I don't care about you. I don't care how many experiences we have. Like, who are you? You know, like I'm just like, I'm very like intense in that way.
Mhm.
And so I felt like because of so many of my last relationships, I never felt like fully safe, and I never felt like that the man was like my true friend. This is like the first person I dated who I felt like, oh wow, like you're my legitimate friend. I would be friends with you even if there's no romance involved. I really had never felt that way before.
Okay, so let me see. So I'm gonna try to mirror you back because
Yeah.
it's part of dialogue, but I wanna make sure that I'm getting it correctly.
Yeah.
'Cause, it's a lot. So, okay, let me see if I got that. So, you grew up in evangelical Christian,
Yeah.
and you felt like a lot of women in the church idolized pretty much just getting married to maybe even, like, pastors, and you just were not on the same page of, like, centering relationships.
Mhm.
You've been through, several relationships in your life, but you see it as, like, a big, kind of intense process, so you never really put that at, like, the forefront. But this particular, boyfriend you had recently didn't go so well. Did I get that?
Yes, except for it did go well, I
It
think.
did go well,
It
okay.
went really well. Yeah,
Let's start there. Is there more to that?
yes. Yeah, like I just through that relationship, I really had a heart block, honestly, and I had heard that like term before, but I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck that means, like heart block, what? But I was like, oh, I feel like I have felt so unsafe in so many relationships, and I'm very comfortable being alone, and I'm very comfortable being independent and having like a connection to the divine, but like really letting other people in. I hadn't practiced that much. And so meeting somebody who I felt like um really felt like a counterpart in many ways. Like he was very like solar and like energetic and like playful, and yeah, he was super good with money. Just came from a like really big family that was like very like loving and like, just very different from how I grew up, and everything that was so natural for him wasn't natural for me. So I was just like, wow, like it was the first time I had ever really pictured a life with someone, like I could really build a life with this person.
Wow.
Um but he's bisexual. So that was the complication with it. It wasn't our connection that ended up ended the relationship, but it was kind of him exploring more of that identity. And I knew from the beginning that he was
Mhm.
bi, and I don't care about things like that. Like, but I think at the core it was like, oh, this person is unsure of what they want in life. And that's like a mismatch.
Okay.
And so that was really heartbreaking for me, to meet someone who I felt like I could have a life with. And then, like, the way that it ended wasn't even because there was anything wrong with us, you know?
Mhm.
Um, but through that relationship, I just realized all of the other kinds of relationships in which I kept choosing people who loved me and cared for me, but simply did not have the capacity to show up in the way in which I needed. And I was like, oh, like I'm choosing that with jobs. I'm choosing that with friendships. That's the dynamic I have with my parents. That's the dynamic I have with Los Angeles. Like all of these different kinds of ways in which I'm like, oh, someone can like really love you, but if they just can't, they can't. And I can't require someone to do something for me in which they just can't, you know? So that was kind of what happened there.
So, if to summarize that, you found this guy who you felt safe with for like the first time ever, and you
Yeah.
were like really excited about it because you could visualize a life with him. He had a family and, money and all this stuff. You mentioned your families were different, so you didn't have that experience. Can you tell me more about like what is your family upbringing?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like almost everything, all of the different kinds of relationships I have with myself, with my friendships, they all come back to that relationship, because that's where you're really programmed to see the world. So, as I've processed through my own relationship with myself and all the different things I'm choosing, that's like always the origin story. It's not something I'll ever, I feel like, get over. It'll always be like, that's like really what brings you back is that dynamic. But yeah, I mean, my mom is Korean. She was born in a third world country, didn't have food growing up, grew up in a grass hut, like didn't have electricity, immigrated here, and then met my dad, who's English, German, and Irish. He's white. Just very different. Their personalities are as different as they look, I would say.
Yeah.
um, and like there's each person, like we have so much darkness within us. It was a kind of like high conflict marriage, I think, at the beginning. But honestly, now I've gone through like various levels of closeness and distance with them, but I really deeply love them and respect both of them. And they're still together and they still have chosen each other through things that I don't think a lot of people would continue to stay. And I don't think that like even relationship advice or like marriage counselors, like they probably wouldn't have said, yeah, you should stay together and work through this. Like, I don't think that that would have been the typical advice.
Yeah.
But their faith, their Christian faith, their really strict, rigid Christian faith that can be like exclusive and hateful at times, it still serves them though. Like, there's still so much beauty in that. And it's very imperfect, but I mean, what isn't, like,
Yeah.
um, and I'm grateful for the good things that I've gotten from them, like the natural things. My mom's super creative. She's a singer. Like, she can cook anything out of anything. She could make like, oh my God, I remember waking up and like my mom made this like huge sculptural like Christmas angel wing out of paper plates. And it looked sick. Like, it was dope. Like, she would make our Christmas trees out of, like, branches and bulbs. Like, she's so cool in that way, And my dad, every time I go home, there's, like, a new thing he's built, like a shed or, like, a new room in the house or, like, a new wall. A lot of walls. A lot of
Wow.
walls. He's Bob the Builder incarnate, for sure. Um, so I can now choose to see like how like special and beautiful they are and also acknowledge like, yeah, and you permanently traumatized me in this way too. Like and that sucked. But like also I am who I am because of you too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that, your parents are very different and you said you grew up in a high conflict household, but it's like you found, I guess maybe with time and growing up, you found, okay, you traumatized me, but also, you gave me so many great things and great qualities and a great life as well. What do you think was like the factor that allowed you to kind of bridge that gap?
I guess I think if I was to tell like 22-year-old me, when I first started being like, oh, wow, like really doing that work of, all the internal work and shadow work and all that stuff, like,
Yeah.
I think I would just say that like every part of the process has been important, you know? Like being pissed is important, you know? And like being like angry and like distancing myself and being like, yeah, they messed me up. Like I had to do that. I had to go through that. I had to be like, I'm not gonna ever talk to you again. Like I can't believe you did. Like it was uh appropriate, I think, you know? It's like, you know, when teenagers are like rebellious and they're like doing their own thing, they're like making all these dumb choices. I'm like, that's appropriate. It's appropriate to do that as a
Yeah.
teenager. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's more like, are you moving through it? Or like, do you stay, like, are you still 60 and angry? Because, like, I mean, you can be, but that's your reward is that you get to sit in your resentment and feel righteous. So you get
Mm.
whatever you want, you know? Like, if you want to be right, you can be right. Like, I was right, but I'm like, this doesn't serve me though. Like, this
Mm.
actually doesn't make me feel good. So I want to feel good. I want to
Yeah.
feel at peace.
Yeah, yeah. That's so interesting. Do you think you're like so you grew up very religious. Where are you from? California or where are you from
Yes,
originally?
yeah,
You are.
California.
Okay. You grew up very religious. Did you ever like leave your religion or are you still religious or
Yeah, loved Christianity growing up. Like, I think the rules and being like, "Oh, like, this is how you get praise," you know, by following all the rules. Like, I read the Bible every single day from, like, the age of, like, I think I was, like, 13 or something like that. Like, I never skipped a day. I studied the Bible. I read it back to front so many times, like and commentaries, and I have a lot of it memorized, honestly. I know it back and front. Like, I really know the Bible, and I know Jesus. Like, I know the story of Jesus.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, of course, like grow and then becoming an adult, I'm like, oh wait a minute, like they don't like people who are gay. Like that doesn't seem that seem like it was like all these different things started to unravel. And then like the core of it unraveled, you know. So going through that whole process was like very painful. You know, you have to leave behind everything, like all the and I was like I was a worship leader, like I was very, very involved, and I was very zealous. Like I was definitely on fire for the Lord, you know?
Wow.
And so to leave that, I feel like I'm so proud of like little me who had the courage to be like a truth seeker, you know? At the core of it was always like seeking truth and seeking wisdom, and that led me away from the
Mm.
church. I was agnostic for a while and then like spiritual but yeah, more recently I've been just like connecting with scripture and connecting with that more. I would not say I'm a Christian at all, just because I don't I think in order to claim that name, there's sort of like an exclusivity, kind of like you almost have to like marry it.
Yeah.
And I don't feel married to Christianity, but I find it very useful and helpful because of how deeply I've studied it. It's kind of like grounding for me to be
Yeah.
like, oh, like that story relates to this idea in you know, Islam, which relates to this idea in tarot, which relates to this idea in, you know, whatever, astrology.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think it's perennialism. That's like the truth in all things.
Nice.
So, that's kind of where I'm at now, I would say.
That's so cool. How do your parents feel about that?
They don't love it. No, I
Do
mean,
they accept it though?
they accept me, but they don't no, they don't accept that part of me. They're like, they're basically like, "You're perfect except for that."
Mhm. They kinda push it to the side and block it out of their minds.
Yeah.
And
I mean, because the rigidity, that is the core of what has helped them navigate their own life, you know? They didn't have the space to like navel gaze for years like I have, you know?
yeah.
Like I was awarded with the time to heal. They don't have that and they never have and they I don't know if they ever will, you know, I guess never say never, but it's like it's a privilege to be the cycle breaker. As painful as it is, it's like, oh, I get to do this. I get to think bigger and wider. Um but yeah, I mean, I recognize that what's helpful for them is just that's that's what guides them and that's good for them, and I'm happy that they have that structure and that rigidity, and I can tolerate the discomfort of them disapproving of the fact that I don't that would be a box for me. but that's structure for them.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's so I love the way you said that thing worked for them, they needed that. But,
Yeah.
you really did just kinda open my mind though, because I don't know, I guess I've thought about it like that before, like, our parents, they needed that, but the way you're describing your parents, you're kinda painting a picture of, like, they really went through a lot of stuff, yet they still stayed together, whereas my parents went through a lot of stuff. My parents Greek Orthodox, Irish
Mm.
Catholic.
Mm.
So and super each, like,
Mm.
1st and 2nd generation kinda thing. And so, they split up, and they didn't share a faith. I was baptized Greek Orthodox, but my dad always resented having to go to the Greek church, so they didn't really share, like, a faith. But now that I'm thinking about it, maybe if they were on the same faith, because they were super strict and rigid about their own faiths,
Right.
probably would've stayed together, because you always put if you're a strict religious person, you're always putting God first, and a lot of people
Yes.
do make it through those obstacles because they have that faith, and, like, interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's low key undeniable, you know? I'm just like, my parents don't drink. I've never seen them take one sip of alcohol, and I get to have a healthy relationship with alcohol because they never drank. Like, and they're because of their faith, like, it keeps them healthy. It keeps them
Mhm.
healthy. It keeps them together. And I'm like, why would I demand that they be robbed of that because I'm more open and intelligent? Like, who am I? Like,
Yeah.
girl, stop.
Yeah, one of the things we talk about a lot is, like, celebrate difference.
Mm,
Instead of, like, we're always judging people, right? We're always like, that's, like, our go-to as humans. But
yeah.
instead of judging, we wanna celebrate, because we're all different literal beings. So it's
Mhm.
like you said, who am I to tell them that that's not, right? I was watching one of your YouTube videos, and you said you've been working in a, recovery center for
Yeah.
eating disorders for 4 years, is it?
Yes. Yeah. I
Oh,
recently, I'm not working there anymore, but I worked there for
okay.
4 years. Yeah.
Wow, how was that? Did you yourself have an eating disorder? I'm only asking. I did, and
Yeah.
I got to work at an addiction recovery center teaching yoga once. But
Oh,
I was
wow.
curious your experience, with that. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. I definitely had a disordered relationship with food. I think I mean, obviously just being a woman, it's like you're gonna have all these really harmful messages that are literally constantly pumping into your brain everywhere you go. And I see the world differently now, especially. I see how eating disorders are being basically advertised to
Mhm.
us
Oh, yeah.
constantly, constantly. You know, my mom has had a complex relationship with food, growing up with food scarcity and all that kind of stuff. And
Oh, yeah.
um, so I think I definitely used it. I would say I abused food, I would
Mhm.
say. I don't know if I would have been diagnosed with an eating disorder, but I had those tendencies, I would say. Definitely I would eat and eat and eat until I couldn't feel anything anymore,
Yeah, yeah.
using it to numb myself.
Mhm.
And I certainly hated my body, of course. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know anyone who hasn't gone through that
same.
or still does, you
Women
know?
especially, yeah. We
Yeah.
always have. I think men probably do too, honestly, they just probably don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But so why'd you get into teaching, or not teaching, but, working at that center?
I actually was working at a church at the time, fully not a Christian, but working at a church, and I was like and I think the whole church was starting to be like, "I don't think that you're, on the same level."
Uh-huh.
And so I was getting some complaints, and it wasn't like I was doing anything crazy, but it wasn't just that fit for a church.
Right.
And I was like, "Wow, I really gotta get out of here." That was mostly my motivation of I can't be here. I'm faking. I can't fake this anymore. So, I had a health coaching certification. I was doing health coaching, and then I was just applying to anything. I was applying to anything, and then I just got an interview at this job, and I was like, "Oh, dope." I started working there, and then yeah, I mean, it complete it that was a life altering moment, like that shifted me because that's where I learned DBT. That's kind of where I like honed my coaching skills, just walking people through like their lowest lows and like learning how to just to be there and offer skills and offer advice when they need, and then also just like to hold space if they need. That'll always be like a really special time, and I think really just foundational and formational for me as a person. And yeah, and just like connecting to the people, some of the people there. Yeah, it was just a really, really special time.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful that you kind of use that to now. I mean, now are you like fully kind of like you have your own business or like freelance, or is that what you're doing now? You've moved.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice. And is it mostly content? I mean, you're probably making money with content. You're also making money with coaching, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So coaching and content are the two main things that, yeah, that's what I'm doing now. So,
So you do your
yeah.
content, which I'm very impressed with. Like, I'm super impressed with like your work ethic on your content.
Thank you.
How much time do you spend every day creating content? And what is that like? And then I'm guessing your goal is to get like those one-on-one coaching sessions, right? Is that kind of why you're doing it?
Yes, that's definitely one of the motivations for sure, like to use it as a marketing tool to promote my work and also like as self-expression and creativity. I really am like an artist at my core, and I think everyone is a creative at their core. So sometimes if I'm working like on a really big project like a launch or even like something that isn't related to content, like something with music or whatever, like I think that content creation kind of like it gets the creative juices flowing, you know, like I'm going to post this and this and this, like it puts me in that creative headspace. But honestly, my strategy is like it can't be rigid. If it's rigid, I won't do it. You know, I have a cadence for YouTube, and I have a cadence, like an ideal cadence for Instagram. But I
Uh-huh.
also, at this point, can flow a little bit more at the beginning. It's kind of like working out. When you're first starting to work out, it's like every workout is torture and you have to just hold yourself accountable. Like you have to do it even if you hate it. But then once like it's a part of your lifestyle, you can be a little bit more like, I'm just going to listen to my body today because I trust myself that I'll be able to do it tomorrow or the next day, you
Mm,
know? So now I kind of just my best content, the stuff that always does the best, literally without fail, is just when I'm like in a neutral place, like I'm open and something comes to me and I do it immediately. That's always the best.
yeah.
So the more space that I can create in my life for that, the better. So, but I think of it as a lifestyle. I'm not like on Sundays, I do this and this and this. Like, I'm just like, content is my life and my life is content. Like, they're like kind of one and the same. So I'm
Yeah.
always carrying around a tripod. I'm always like ready. I'm ready, you know, not always, but I try to stay ready and open. So
Okay. Is there anything you do specifically to create that type of like neutral space that you're looking for?
my, I mean, that can go like it can go that can go deep, but I honestly feel like the only reason I'm even able to do that is because of all the trauma work and all that stuff. Because when your mind is noisy with like shame and guilt and self-hatred, like that's all you're going to be focusing on, you know? If I didn't heal my relationship with my body, I don't think I would have been able to create content at the same level because it's like my mind was just full of hating my body. There was no space there. So like my whole life has been about creating space, you know? But as far as like practices go, I think it's being aware of when I'm numbing myself throughout the day, you know, like, am I watching TV right now because I'm enjoying the show, or do I not want to be present in my reality, you know, like, being aware of like the various like substances that I could use. Like there was one point where I was smoking weed like all day long because I wanted to have that connection with the divine. Honestly, that's what made me feel creative. That's what made me feel connected to God. And I don't think that there's anything morally wrong with that, but I recognize like, oh, I'm shortcutting this because I want this feeling instead of kind of it was like spiritual Ozempic, you know? I was like, I want this like tiny little body, so I'm gonna smoke so I can know God. But I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I actually want to like go to the gym and like eat healthy and like go through that process, you know?
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think it's just all the stuff. It's waking up, it's, being in my body, dancing really helps. Honestly, getting ready, like the feeling like I can look in the mirror and be like, I look good. I'm prepared for the day. When I'm prepared for the day, I'm prepared to receive too, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love that. I love that you're just like, well, the more you heal, the more space you have to be creative. And that is
Yeah.
like mic drop right there. Because like if everybody could kind of hear that, I feel like so many people try to be creative when they're in their deepest pain, and you
Mhm.
can, and you are, and that's how you heal too, right?
Totally.
Um, but there is a point, I feel like, especially, like, my first audition in LA, it's because I'm here, I'm reminded of it, is, like, I had no idea what I was doing, I had no training, whatever, but I walked into the room, and it was, like, totally not a breakdown scene, and I broke down crying in the middle of it because I was so anxious, and, like, I
Mm.
couldn't even get through the scene. But, previously, I had actually blacked out in my first public speaking class, so I, like, was super I just couldn't do anything in front of people, which is why I wanted to do it because I like to follow my fear. But I remember the director, like, he stopped me, thank God, and gave me some water, and
Aw.
he was like, Megan, when your life is good, you'll act good. When your life is not good, you won't act good." And
Wow.
yeah, and it was, like, my first audition ever in LA, and that really stuck with me because then I was like, "Okay, I'm prioritizing the wrong thing," right?
Mm.
I can't just pretend I can blow through all this stuff because I knew in the back of my head, like, okay, my relationship is messed up. I don't talk to my parents. I don't talk to my sister, all these different things. Like, I need to like fix all this shit. And
Mm.
so then in pursuit of, I guess, exactly what you said, healing, I was able to create more and more and more space to create, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
very cool. That's a very needed thing for people to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you could probably switch out, like, content creation as well with
Oh,
that
yeah.
thing that your director said. I
Yeah.
like wait, what was the exact word? When your life is good,
You
your
you act good or you
you act
create,
good.
I guess.
Yes. Yeah, when
When
your
your life
life is good, your
is
creation
bad,
is good.
yeah, when your life is bad, your creation is bad. I mean, he just said it like
Mhm.
that, you act.
Yeah. There's so much, like there's simplicity in it, and there's, like, a lot of depth in it too.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's why it hit because it was like that, yeah, it felt like something that was like, "You're never gonna forget that." I was like, "Yeah, okay, let me go fix my life."
Yeah. No, yeah.
Pearl Bots is a spiritual guide and life coach who helps women reclaim their power, know how to find their purpose and mission, and be willing to take responsibility for their dreams. If you would like to work with Pearl one-on-one, send her a DM at Pearl Bots on Instagram. That's at PearlBotts. All right, let's get back to the show. I had a situation with my sister this year in which it was revealed to me that I guess she was not the person that I thought she was. And it was
Mm.
very painful because she was like what I thought. She was my best friend.
Mm.
What I realized was she really hated everything I was doing with my life, and she stuck by it, and I respect her for that, but it was just really kind of like, wow,
Mm.
huh. I thought you were my biggest ally, and
Mm.
you're not at all. You're actually like my enemy. It's kind of like that sort of mind thing. So I
Yeah.
thought it was interesting you said something about you went no contact with your sister because I don't, maybe I have done that like earlier in life, but if you want to speak on that, I would love to hear.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you sharing that does, I mean, as vulnerability does, like, I'm like, yeah, I'll talk about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty fresh. And I think with no contact, like almost every relationship that's kind of ended up us not speaking at all hasn't been some sort of like, I'm gonna cut them off necessarily. I've heard this said that, like rotten fruit falls on its own, I've never had to like cut off a branch necessarily. And not that I'm saying that my sister is some rotten person, but in a very similar way, I'm just like, oh, it's just a recognition like, oh, you're just not who I thought you were to me,
Yeah, yeah.
And we're very different, but I mean, everybody in my family's super different. And to me, I think of family as like, now I think of it as like, I don't have to be best friends with you, or I could be various levels of close, but like if you ever needed anything, I would show up, in a way that I felt was appropriate. But yeah, I have a friend who is I'm no longer friends with, and that was kind of like it felt like a divorce because I was friends with her for so long. We lived together, all the stuff. My sister's best friends with her, and I just kind of recognized like, oh, I think that their energies are matched, and like where I'm going, it's just not the same. And more recently, this is like my mantra that's really been helping me. But I feel tense about it sometimes. I feel anger, and I know that anger is just a secondary emotion for sadness. Like I'm still grieving that recognition of how we're different. But when I start to feel myself punishing myself, like suffering for no reason, I'm just like, I forgive you for not having the capacity to show up in the way that I need. Like I'm saying that over and over and over to myself because I'm like, again, some people just don't have the capacity to be what I need. And I could be like, oh, well, she's doing this, she's doing that. And I'm like, I'm gonna let life handle that. Like, I don't need to handle someone else's growth, but I just have to trust that people show you what they can do for you and what they can't. And it's heartbreaking to have that connection, I think, severed. Um, but yeah, I'm letting it breathe. I hope to reconnect with her again in a different way, maybe at an arm's length. But I think for now I need some distance, just like I needed distance from my parents, and now I'm back in a different way with different expectations. But I think that I need space to alter my expectations of that. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you're kind of recognizing that, within yourself. And I think that it's interesting that, you go through something with somebody, they show you, it's almost like they show you what you aren't giving yourself, or like you're saying, okay, she can't meet my need. And then the second thought from in my head is like, okay, why am I expecting her to meet my need? Like,
Yeah.
okay, let me see what I need to do to meet my need, or how I can change to attract somebody who actually could meet my need, right? Be the change you wish to see or something. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it all is like going back to the beginning. It all happens so that you can, grieve something and look back and say, "Oh, okay, this is informing my past, and also this is going to inform my future," kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just taking, like you said, taking that space, I think is really, really a good way to like zoom out, see everything, and decide how you want to proceed after you, review your expectations, as you said.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
cool. This is life.
I
This is
know.
life.
Yeah. I feel like this whole past year has been um y- making friends with grief, and just interfacing with grief, and like letting it change me, not resisting it.
Yeah.
Just fully being like, this is horrible. This is horrible. And it's exactly what I'm asking for, I can't have like the highest highs without the lowest lows. So I'm like, if I'm asking for more money, for better relationships, for more love, I have to review all of the ways in which I'm accepting not that.
Mm. Yeah.
And letting it be as it is. So yeah, grief has been felt this past year
So,
in many different ways.
maybe that's our title. Grief is my best friend.
Honestly,
My
grief
new
is my
best friend.
bestie.
My new bestie, grief.
Grief is
High
my best.
key. High key.
If you needed a reminder today that growth is never, 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 and then all at once, let this be it. You're allowed to want to dream big. You're allowed to be obsessed with it. Just don't let the timeline convince you that it's not coming. And if you're creating right now with no applause, no traction, no evidence, you are still building something real. If this episode helped you, share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. I'm Megan A. Tully. That was Pearl Bots, and this has been Is There More? Thanks for listening.